A ship is always safe at shore, but that is not what it was built for. Albert Einstein. Pause for a moment and let that sink in. You are that ship. You were not created to stay tied to a dock, staring at the horizon, imagining where the waves could take you. You were built for journeys, storms, and discoveries. But here is the truth. To live the life you dream of, you must untie yourself from the familiar and sail into the unknown. Most people live with one foot in their dream and the other stuck in their comfort zone. And that's why they never arrive. They wait for the right time, the perfect plan, or a guarantee that everything will work out. But dreams do not come wrapped in certainty. They come disguised as risk. And that's where your courage comes in. Today we are talking about risk-taking, not as reckless gambling, but as a conscious, courageous choice to step into the life you have imagined. Because if you avoid risks, you avoid growth, and if you avoid growth, you avoid becoming who you were meant to be. Why risk is the price of dreams? Let's start with a simple truth. Every dream demands a price. And more often than not, that price is uncertainty. Think about it. Steve Jobs dropped out of college with no clear plan. It was a risk. J.K. Rowling was rejected 12 times before Harry Potter was published. It was a risk. Elon Musk sold his companies and invested almost everything into SpaceX and Tesla. When both were close to collapse, it was an enormous risk. Here is the irony. While most people fear risks because of the possibility of failure, avoiding risk is actually bigger than danger. Because when you avoid risk, you stay in the same place, and the same place slowly becomes a prison of your potential. Psychologists call this the comfort zone paradox. You think you are safe because nothing is changing, but in reality, your skills, opportunities, and motivations are slowly decaying, means they're dying. When you take risks, you force yourself into the growth zone. That place where you're scared but alive, uncertain but learning. The science behind risk and growth. Neuroscience tells us that when you do something new, especially something uncertain, your brain releases dopamine, the curiosity and motivation chemical. This primes your brain to learn faster and adapt. That's why life feels sharper and more exciting when you're chasing something risky. There is also something called neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to rewire itself based on new challenges. Risk accelerates this rewiring. It forces you to develop skills you didn't have before, to think in ways you have never thought before. Here is the important point. You don't need to take wild, blind risks. You need to take calculated risks, where you understand the possible downsides, but believe the potential upside is worth it. The gatekeeper of your next level. Let's talk about fear. Fear is not the enemy. Fear is the signal that you're on the edge of something important. Think of fear as a doorway. Behind the door is everything you want. But the key to opening it is action. Most people let fear convince them that risk means danger. But in many cases, risk just means possibility. Here is a simple exercise. Next time you feel fear about taking a step toward your dream, ask yourself. First question, what is the worst that could happen? Second, if that happened, how could I recover? Third, what is the best that could happen if I try? you'll find that the worst case scenario is rarely life ending. But the best case scenario could be life changing. Oprah Winfrey risked leaving a stable job in local newspaper to pursue television in a way that didn't even exist at that time. Today, she is one of the most influential women in the world. Malala Yousafzai, a Nobel Prize winner. She risked her safety to speak up for girls' education in Afghanistan and Pakistan. That risk nearly cost her life, but it also won her a Nobel Peace Prize and a global platform to inspire millions. Colonel Sanders started KFC at the age of 65. After failing in dozens of jobs and businesses, he risked his last savings to sell a recipe he believed in. In each story, the common thread isn't luck. It is the willingness to act in the presence of uncertainty. Now, how to take risks without losing your mind? 1. Start small, but start now. You don't have to quit your job tomorrow to follow your dream. Begin with small, meaningful risks. Launch a side project. Pitch your idea to one person. Start learning a skill you will need. 2. Do your homework. Risk doesn't mean you skip preparation. Research, gather data, and learn from others who have taken similar paths. 3. Build a safety net. Have a plan for the worst case scenario. This gives you the courage to try because you know you won't lose everything. 4. Surround yourself with risk takers. Your environment will either feed your courage or feed your fear. Spend time with people who encourage bold moves. 5. Detach from the outcome. The best risk takers are focused on the process, not the guarantee of success. Every risk is a teacher, whether it succeeds or fails. The spiritual side of risk. For centuries, spiritual leaders have talked about stepping into the unknown as an act of faith. Whether you believe in God, the universe, or the human spirit, risk is a way of saying, I believe there is more for me, and I trust the path will unfold as I walk it. In many cultures, rites of passage involve risks, because stepping into your next stage of life requires proving to yourself that you can survive uncertainty. Your dream is no different. Let me leave you with this. When you are old and looking back on your life, the moments that will shine the brightest won't be the safe ones. They will be the leaps you took, the times you didn't know how it would turn out, but you tried anyway. You're not here to live a half life. You're here to become the person you dream of being. That version of you is on the other side of risk. So unite the rope. Step away from the shore. Let the wind fill your sails, because ships are safe in harbors. But that's not what they are built for. Peace and love, Hamza.